Fujifilm made a medium format 80mm F1.7 lens. That statement probably doesn't sound overly impressive to most people, because most people don't own medium format cameras. But most people actually includes myself, because these are not my GFXs. Anyway, financial issues aside, this new 80mm is quite a tentpole because this has the brightest aperture yet among any medium format lens. F1.7 is quite a big deal in the world of medium formats. Not that I would know. Appearance-wise, however, it actually looks nowhere near as obscene as I imagined the largest aperture medium format lens to be. In fact, it's actually quite modest. Sure, it's got sizable front and rear elements, but we've definitely seen way bigger lenses for much smaller formats. Like the filter size for this supposed behemoth is just a friendly 77mm, and the lens is just not massive like one would imagine such a lens to be. And weighing in at just over 790 grams, you can say this is a heavy lens, but underwhelmingly so, because this is actually lighter than Canon's 85 1.2 and even the new Canon 85 1.4 IS. So as far as size and weight are concerned, it's very well within or even slightly under expectations. But enough about what this lens itself actually looks like. Let's talk about what it looks like through the lens. An 80mm on medium format would give you a field of view equivalent to a 63mm lens on full frame, so it's got some amount of reach without getting too tight. And coincidentally, it's also pretty much exactly the same field of view you get with the new iPhone 12 Pro Max's 2.5x camera, so if you happen to have one of those, you're going to feel right at home, at least in terms of framing up your photo. And mounted on a GFX 100, now I gotta change cameras now. Sorry, too many medium format cameras. What was I saying? Oh yes, mounted on a GFX 100, the autofocus on this 80mm is decent, although nowhere near as responsive as I hoped it would be. I was actually expecting it to be on par with the 110mm f2, but the 80mm motor does seem to be moving glass a tad on the slow side and also a bit on the audible side. It's not annoyingly loud, but it is quite noticeable in comparison to the 110. The resolving power of this 80mm though is undeniably incredible. Wide open at f1.7, whatever you manage to keep in focus holds up perfectly against the scrutiny of the GFX 100's 102 megapixel sensor, and if you stop down a bit, even in 400 megapixel pixel shift mode, you can see it just barely grazing this 80mm's optical limits. Its minimum focusing distance is quite near as well, 0.7 meters, which does make this a very easy lens to work with. You can get quite close to your subjects, and combine that with the previously unheard of f1.7 on a medium format, it does breathe a rather magical character to the resulting photos. It's really not an easy look to achieve with any other setup, which does make this such an attractive lens, not to mention absolutely effortless bokeh. But with great bokeh comes tricky focusing situations. When you're shooting with a 50 or 100 megapixel medium format sensor on an 80mm f1.7, the depth of field is so shallow, it's absolutely unforgiving. Like here I thought I nailed focus on my cat's eye, but after punching in, the eyes were soft. It was the fur right around the eye that was in focus. But that's just part of the shooting experience with this. I actually don't know how much this lens costs as of filming this, because I am recording this review quite some time ahead of launch, but by the time you're watching this, there will probably be some store links with pricing down in the description that I may or may not be surprised at. And something equally, if not more exciting that was launched alongside this lens is this new GFX 100S camera. That's been quietly with us for this whole review, and while I am not giving away this camera, I am offering my first impressions of it right here in this video for free. What? It's not even mine to give away, you asked for